The road was quiet. Only one car moved under the dark evening sky. Inside that old silver car sat a young woman. Her name was Elena. She was tired, but she kept driving. Her baby Liam was sleeping in the car seat behind her. Elena was a single mother. Life had not been easy, but she was strong. She had just finished her evening shift at the diner and was going home. She was thinking about what to cook for Liam in the morning when she saw flashing lights in the mirror, red and blue. A police car was behind her. Her heart jumped. She checked her speed. She was not speeding. She turned on her indicator and pulled over slowly. Her hands were shaking. 2 officers came out of the police car. They didn't smile. They didn't even greet her kindly. One tapped on her window. Elena rolled it down halfway and spoke politely. "Good evening, officer. Is something wrong?" The officer didn't answer her question. "License and registration," he said in a cold voice. She handed it over quickly. The baby stood in the backseat, starting to cry. The second officer walked around her car, shining a flashlight at the tires and windows. "Where are you coming from?" the first officer asked. "Just my job. I work at the diner," she said. "Why are you out this late?" he asked, narrowing his eyes. Elena felt nervous. "I just finished work. I have my baby with me. Please, is there a problem?" The baby cried louder. Elena reached back to calm him, but the officer raised his voice. "Keep your hands where I can see them." She froze. "I was just trying to calm my baby." The second officer came back to the window. "Step out of the vehicle," he ordered. Elena looked confused and scared. "Why? What did I do wrong?" The officers didn't answer. "Out. Now." Elena stepped out of the car slowly. Her legs were shaking. She held her hands up slightly to show she had nothing. "My baby is in the back seat. Please don't scare him." The baby was crying louder now. The sound broke her heart. One officer moved toward the car door. "Don't open it. He's just a baby," Elena shouted. The officer pushed her back roughly. "Stay quiet. This is a safety check." Tears filled Elena's eyes. "Please, I didn't do anything. Just let me go home." The officers looked at each other. One of them pulled out his handcuffs. "That's it. You're resisting." Elena cried harder. "No, I'm not. Please, please don't do this." The baby's cries echoed across the empty road. Elena was begging now. "I'm a mother. I have no weapons. I'm just trying to take care of my son." The officer grabbed her wrist. Suddenly, the radio on his shoulder crackled. "Unit 47, hold your position. Do not detain the female driver. I repeat, stand down." The officer paused. "This is command. Immediate hold. Backup is en route. Do not engage." Both officers looked confused. One stepped back. The other stared at Elena. She looked up through her tears. What's going on?" The officer who had the handcuffs pulled out his phone and checked something. His face changed. He swallowed hard. "Who is your brother?" he asked slowly. Elena didn't understand the question. "My brother? Why?" The officers didn't answer. They walked back to their car, said nothing, and waited. Elena stood beside her car, crying quietly. She looked at her baby in the backseat. He was still crying, but she couldn't reach him. Minutes passed. Then, headlights appeared from the distance. A black SUV pulled up slowly. The car stopped, and the door opened. A man stepped out. Tall, calm, powerful. It was Aaron, her brother, a former Green Beret. He said nothing. He didn't run. He didn't shout. He just walked toward the 2 officers. They froze. One took a step back. Aaron looked at them like a lion watching 2 scared animals. The taller officer stuttered, "Yes, sir. This isn't what it looks like." Aaron's voice was calm and cold. "You touched my sister. You made her cry. You scared her baby." He took one slow step forward. "Tell me, who gave the order?" No answer. Aaron pulled out a small badge. "Federal clearance. Military rank." "I'll find out." He walked past the officers and reached Elena. She cried in his arms. "I was so scared," she whispered. Aaron held her close. "Not anymore. He looked at her car, then at the baby. Then he turned to the officers one last time. I don't beg, I fix. And with that, the night grew quiet again. But the storm was just beginning. Aaron stood silently next to Elena, the sound of the baby's cries still echoing in the air. His calm demeanor contrasted with the panic that had filled the night. Elena looked up at him, her eyes red from tears. Aaron, I don't understand what's going on. Why were they so cruel? Aaron's eyes were cold, unreadable. His face was still, as if a storm raged inside him. He placed a hand on Elena's shoulder, gently guiding her away from the scene. Don't worry about them, he said in a quiet voice. They won't hurt you again. But Elena couldn't stop trembling. The flashing lights, the shouting, the way the officers grabbed her like she was a criminal. It was too much. She was a mother, not a criminal. Aaron glanced back at the officers. They had stepped aside, watching him cautiously, like predators watching a larger predator. One officer was talking into his radio, his voice low and uncertain. The other kept his eyes on the ground. Aaron turned his attention back to Elena. Let's get you and Liam home, he said. I'll handle the rest. As they drove through the dark streets, Elena didn't say a word. She couldn't. The weight of everything that had happened sat on her chest like a heavy stone. Every time she looked at Liam in the rearview mirror, the tears came again. Aaron's voice broke the silence. Did you know about the corruption in that department? He asked softly, his eyes on the road ahead. Elena blinked, surprised by the question. What do you mean? I didn't want to scare you. But those officers, they've been stealing from people, making fake tickets, taking money from drivers. That's why they were so aggressive with you tonight. Elena shook her head in disbelief. No, I didn't know. I figured, Aaron said. I'm just sorry you got caught up in it. They drove in silence for a few moments. Flashback. Aaron had always been her protector. After their parents died when they were young, he stepped in. He raised her, taught her how to fight for herself. But it wasn't just his words that made him a protector. It was how he acted. Aaron had joined the army when he turned 18, joining the Green Berets, one of the toughest and most elite forces in the world. But despite the power he held, Aaron was always the calmest person Elena knew. Even in the toughest situations, he never panicked, never made mistakes. He was the brother everyone looked up to, the one who kept his word, who always kept his promises. As they reached Elena's small apartment, Aaron parked the car and turned to her. I need to go. I have some things to figure out, he said. Things? Elena repeated, confused. I'll be back, Aaron said with a firm nod. But there's something you need to know. She looked at him, waiting. I don't beg for answers, but I will get them, he said quietly. Those officers, they made a mistake, and I'm going to make sure they pay for it. Elena's heart raced at his words, but she knew better than to argue. Aaron wasn't the type to back down from anything. When he said something, he meant it. That night, Aaron sat alone in a small room, his eyes locked on the screen of his laptop. It wasn't the first time he had worked in the shadows. But tonight, he wasn't just looking for information. He was hunting. With the power of his connections in the military, he had access to files most people couldn't even dream of. He scrolled through reports, looking for anything connected to the officers who had stopped Elena. Every name, every date, every shift was recorded. Then he found it. A name kept appearing, hidden in the shadows of the reports. A Captain Mark Turner, the man who ran the local police department's corruption ring. Aaron's jaw tightened. Turner had been involved in more than just stealing money. He was linked to a much larger operation, one that stretched far beyond the town. Aaron's fingers flew over the keyboard, pulling up more information. He needed to be sure. He needed to know who else was involved. The next morning, Elena woke to a text message from Aaron. Meet me at 10 a.m. I need your help. Her heart skipped a beat. What was Aaron planning? She grabbed her jacket and quickly dressed Liam. She wasn't sure what was going on, but she knew her brother never asked for help unless it was serious. At 10 a.m., Elena met Aaron in a small cafe. He was sitting at the back, waiting for her. When she sat down, he slid a folder across the table to her. Inside were photographs, surveillance images of the officers from last night. And then, a photo of Captain Turner, standing with a group of men in suits, all shaking hands. "Who are they?" Elena asked, pointing to the men. "High-level officials," Aaron said. "Corruption runs deep here. Those officers we saw last night, they're just the tip of the iceberg." Elena's stomach twisted. She had no idea it was this big. She just wanted to keep her son safe. Aaron leaned in, his voice lower now. "I'm going to take down this whole network, Elena. But I need you to stay strong. What happens next might get messy." Elena's heart raced. "What do I need to do?" "You don't need to do anything," Aaron said. "Just stay safe. I'll handle the rest." But Elena wasn't so sure. She could see the anger in Aaron's eyes, the quiet rage that had always been there, ready to explode when needed. That night, Aaron was on the move. His mind was set. He didn't beg. He never had. But this time, he would stop at nothing. And the town would soon learn. When you hurt family, you pay the price. The sun had barely risen the next day, but Aaron was already out the door. His mind was racing, plotting his next move. He couldn't let the corruption that had hurt his sister go unpunished, not when it ran so deep. But the more he uncovered, the darker the truth became. At the diner, Elena stood behind the counter, wiping it down slowly. She had barely slept the night before, her thoughts constantly drifting back to her brother, to the terrifying moment when those officers had surrounded her car. She couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. It was more than just a traffic stop. It was as if they were hiding something big, and she had no idea how far it reached. Her thoughts were interrupted by the ringing of her phone. She quickly picked it up, recognizing the number. It was Aaron. "Hey, you okay?" he asked, his voice calm as always, but there was an edge to it. Something in his tone made Elena's stomach tighten. "I'm fine," she replied, though she wasn't sure if it was the truth. "What's going on?" "I need you to come with me," he said, his words sharp. "I found something. Something I think you need to see." Elena closed the diner and drove quickly to the address Aaron had sent her. It was an old warehouse at the edge of town. It was dark, the lights barely flickering above the broken windows. A place where things were hidden, a place where secrets were kept. She parked and got out of the car, her heart thumping in her chest. She hadn't seen her brother this serious in a long time. As she approached the warehouse, she saw Aaron standing outside, his arms crossed, looking out over the quiet street. He turned when he saw her. "Come on," he said without a smile, nodding toward the door. Inside, the air was thick with dust. Shadows stretched across the walls, and the only sound was the soft echo of their footsteps on the concrete floor. Aaron led her to the back of the warehouse, where an old desk sat. Piles of papers were scattered across it, files, reports. Everything was messy, but there was an order to it, hidden beneath the chaos. Elena looked at him confused. "What is all this?" "I've been digging deeper," Aaron said, his voice low, almost like he was speaking to himself. "Those officers, they're working with someone higher up, someone who's been pulling the strings." He picked up a folder and opened it, revealing photographs of men in suits shaking hands with local officials. Some of them were familiar faces, some were not. "Who are these people?" Elena asked, her eyes widening. Aaron didn't answer immediately. He flipped through the pages, his expression hardening. "These are the men who have been controlling the police here, the ones who've been taking money, threatening people. And the worst part," he stopped, his finger hovering over a photo. "They're connected to the highest levels of the government." Elena took a step back, the weight of the truth crashing down on her. "What does that mean? How far does this go?" Aaron's jaw clenched. "It means these officers aren't just stealing money. They're part of a much bigger operation, a group that's been hiding in plain sight for years." The pieces were starting to fall into place for Elena, but it didn't make sense. She was just an ordinary woman, a single mother trying to survive. How had she ended up in the middle of all this? "I don't understand," Elena whispered, her hands trembling. "I don't understand how we're involved in all of this." "You're involved because you're part of the story now," Aaron said quietly, his eyes never leaving the files. "You reported them. You got too close to the truth. And that's why they targeted you." Elena's chest tightened. She had no idea her small complaint about a corrupt cop would lead to this. But what are they hiding? She asked, her voice barely a whisper. Aaron didn't respond immediately. He was still studying the papers, his mind working through the details. I don't know, he finally said. But I'm going to find out. Elena glanced over the room again. There were too many files, too many names, too many faces. It felt like a web, and she was caught in the middle of it. But something caught her eye. A piece of paper at the edge of the desk, nearly hidden underneath a stack of reports. Aaron hadn't noticed it yet, so she picked it up. It was a letter, typed in black ink. She read it quickly, her heart racing as she took in the words. The deal is set. The transfer will happen as soon as the next shipment arrives. We will move forward with the next phase once the final payment is made. Make sure the local police are on our side. We can't afford any mistakes. Elena's breath caught in her throat. The letter was talking about something illegal, a deal, a transfer, and the mention of local police confirmed her worst fears. They were all involved, all of them. Aaron turned and saw her holding the letter. His eyes hardened as he took it from her hand. This is what we need, he said, his voice low and dangerous. This letter is the key. And now I know exactly what they're hiding. As Elena stood there, watching Aaron, a sense of dread washed over her. The deeper they dug, the more dangerous it became. The web was getting tighter, and she didn't know how much longer they could stay out of its reach. But one thing was clear. Aaron wasn't going to stop until he exposed everything, no matter the cost. The air in the warehouse was heavy with tension as Aaron folded the letter and slid it into his jacket pocket. Elena stood motionless, her thoughts swirling in a storm of confusion and fear. She had no idea how deep this was going. And now, with this letter in hand, there was no turning back. Aaron's eyes were cold, calculating. He wasn't the same man Elena remembered. The Aaron who used to tell her everything would now keep things from her if it meant protecting her. And maybe, just maybe, he was right to do so. He looked at her, his voice steady, but there was a fire in his eyes. We can't do this alone. I need help, he said, and I know exactly who to call. Elena's stomach twisted. She'd seen the way Aaron handled situations, but this felt different. This wasn't a fight with words or quiet threats. This was bigger. And if Aaron was calling for backup, it meant the stakes were higher than ever. Who are you calling? Elena asked, her voice shaky. Aaron didn't answer immediately. Instead, he reached for his phone and dialed a number. The phone rang for a few moments before someone answered on the other end. The voice that came through was deep, familiar, and full of authority. Aaron, the voice said, you're calling me for something serious, I can tell. Jack, Aaron replied, his voice firm. I need your team. We're going to take down a network, and I need all the help I can get. Jack's voice softened. You know the rules, Aaron. If we're going in, we're going in hard. No turning back. What's the plan? The plan is simple, Aaron said, his jaw tightening. We expose them, every last one of them. But we do it without leaving any trace. No mistakes, and no mercy. Jack was silent for a long moment. Elena could hear the quiet hum of the conversation in the background. She could almost picture the look on Jack's face. Serious, focused, ready for action. Finally, Jack spoke again. I'll get the team together. We'll meet in 2 hours. You know where. Aaron ended the call and turned to Elena. We don't have much time. They're going to move fast once they realize we're onto them. We need to be faster. Elena felt a cold knot in her stomach. She'd known her brother was strong. But this was different. Aaron was no longer just her brother. He was a soldier, a man who followed a code that didn't allow for hesitation or weakness. The Green Beret Code. It was simple. Mission first, team second, self third. That was Aaron's life. He'd been trained to think this way. The mission always came first. The mission was everything. Elena had seen this code in action before. When their parents had died, Aaron had stepped up without hesitation. He had raised her, protected her, and never once wavered in his commitment to her. But now, he wasn't just protecting her. He was going after something bigger, something more dangerous. She knew, deep down, that Aaron wasn't asking for help out of weakness. He was asking for backup because he was about to do something that no one could do alone. 2 hours later, Aaron and Elena arrived at the secret meeting point, a small, run-down warehouse just outside of town. Elena was nervous, her hands clammy. She had no idea who these people were, but if Aaron trusted them, she had to trust them too. As they stepped inside, Elena's eyes adjusted to the dim light. The room was filled with men and women in military gear, their faces serious, focused. They moved like a team, no wasted movements, just silent efficiency. Jack, the leader, stood in the center of the room. He was a tall man, his face hardened by years of experience. When he saw Aaron, he nodded in greeting. "Aaron," Jack said, his voice low and controlled. "It's been a while." Aaron nodded back. "Too long. We need to move fast. The enemy is bigger than we thought." Jack's eyes narrowed. "What's the target?" Elena could see the change in Aaron. The calm, collected man who had been her brother was now a leader. He didn't hesitate. He didn't flinch. The mission was everything. "The local police," Aaron said. "But it's not just them. There's a network of officials, businessmen, even some government connections. They're hiding something big, and we're going to expose it." Jack looked at the rest of the team. They all nodded in unison, understanding the severity of the mission. "Everyone knows their role," Jack said. "Let's do this by the book. We're not making a single mistake." As the team prepared, Elena stood quietly in the corner, watching them. She couldn't help but feel a sense of awe and fear. These were soldiers, professionals, and they were about to wage a battle against a system of corruption that had taken root deep in the heart of the city. She glanced at Aaron, who was standing at the front, organizing the team. His face was stoic, his eyes focused on the task ahead. Elena realized something. Her brother had always been a protector, but now he was a soldier in a war that most people didn't even know was happening. The plan. The plan was simple but dangerous. Elena wasn't part of the operation. She was going to stay behind and remain out of sight. But Aaron made it clear she wasn't alone. "I'll keep you safe," Aaron said before they parted ways. "But stay low. Stay out of sight." Elena nodded, even though her heart was pounding in her chest. She wasn't sure what she was scared of, the mission, or the fact that her brother was involved in something this dangerous. As the team moved into position, Aaron's mind was sharp. Every detail, every move, had to be perfect. There was no room for error. They had to move quickly. They had to be silent. They had to be ghosts. Hours passed. The operation was in full swing. The team infiltrated the offices of the corrupt police officials, putting up documents, photos, evidence of the illegal activities. The room was filled with the sound of laptops clicking, files being opened, and the steady hum of the mission moving forward. Elena waited anxiously at the safe house. Her phone buzzed, and she grabbed it quickly. It was a text from Aaron. "Mission is on. Stay ready." Elena swallowed hard. She could feel the tension in the air. Her brother wasn't just fighting for justice. He was fighting to expose a web of lies and corruption that ran deeper than anyone could imagine. And he wouldn't stop until he had the truth. The night was dark, and the tension in the air was thick. Elena stood by the window of the safe house, her heart racing as she stared out into the quiet streets. Her mind was spinning with everything that had happened in the last 24 hours. Aaron had gone off with his team, and she had no idea what was happening on the ground. But she trusted him. She had to. At the same time, Aaron and his team were in the thick of it, moving quickly through the building. They had breached the offices of the corrupt officers and were sifting through the evidence, gathering whatever they could find. Aaron's face was hard, his expression focused as he worked. The papers, photos, and files were strewn across the desks, detailing the shady deals, illegal activities, and corrupt dealings that had been going on for years. He had seen enough to know just how deep the conspiracy ran. "Get everything you can," Aaron said, his voice sharp. "We need it all. We need to bring them down." His team moved quickly, their eyes scanning documents, taking photographs, and making copies. It wasn't just the officers they were after anymore. This went higher, a lot higher. But just as Aaron was about to open another file, His phone buzzed. He pulled it out and saw a message from Elena. "What's going on? Please tell me you're safe." He stared at the screen for a moment. He didn't want to scare her, but she deserved the truth. He quickly typed a reply. "It's going as planned. Stay safe. I'll be back soon." But as soon as he hit send, a sharp sound echoed through the building. A door slammed open and shouting filled the air. Aaron's heart dropped. The team was compromised. He turned to his team, his voice urgent. "We need to move. Now." The team scrambled, grabbing the documents, stuffing them into bags, and securing the evidence. But the sound of footsteps was growing louder. Aaron's mind raced as he looked around for an escape. There was no time. They had to get out before they were caught. "Go, go!" Aaron shouted, pushing the team toward the back door. But before they could make it, a group of officers burst into the room. Aaron's eyes met the eyes of Captain Turner, the man behind it all. Turner's smile was cold, cruel, like a predator closing in on its prey. "You really thought you could take me down, Aaron?" Turner said, his voice dripping with mockery. "You're too late." The tension in the room was suffocating. The team froze, caught off guard by the sheer number of officers now surrounding them. They had been so careful, so precise, but it hadn't been enough. Aaron's heart was pounding in his chest. He didn't show fear, but inside, he was furious. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. Captain Turner stepped closer, his eyes flicking to the documents scattered on the table. "You thought I wouldn't notice you poking around in my business?" Turner sneered. "You've made a big mistake, Aaron." Aaron stood his ground, his hand resting on his weapon, though he knew it wasn't time to pull it. Not yet. Not unless he had no other choice. He stared Turner down, unflinching. "You've been stealing from people, hurting families. And now, it's time to pay for what you've done." Turner chuckled darkly. "You think I'm scared of you? You think your little team of misfits is going to stop me?" Before Aaron could respond, one of Turner's officers moved, pulling out a gun. The room exploded with the sound of gunfire. Back at the safe house, Elena was pacing. Her phone had buzzed with no new messages from Aaron. She felt the weight of the silence. The fear was rising in her chest, a sense of dread filling the pit of her stomach. She knew something was wrong. Her phone buzzed again. It was another message from Aaron. "We're compromised. I'll be fine. Stay hidden." But there was something in the message, something that sent a chill down Elena's spine. He wasn't just telling her to stay hidden. He was telling her to prepare for something worse. Aaron's team was caught in a firefight now. The building was chaotic. Bullets rang out, echoing off the walls. Aaron ducked behind a desk, his team scattered around him, trying to protect the evidence. The fight was fierce. Officers were everywhere, and they were armed. Aaron's training kicked in, his mind working faster than his body as he moved, firing back with precision, taking out enemies one by one. But Turner wasn't done yet. He stood back, watching as his officers fought. He knew exactly how to control the situation. He had done it before. The days that followed were a blur. Aaron barely slept. Elena didn't either. They were both on edge, constantly looking over their shoulders, never sure when the next threat would come. The world around them seemed to be closing in, the walls narrowing, the danger growing with every passing hour. But neither Aaron nor Elena was willing to run. Not anymore. Aaron had made it clear. The fight wasn't over. The corruption they had uncovered was just the beginning. Turner and his network of corrupt officers were only the tip of the iceberg. As long as they were alive, the truth wouldn't be safe. It wasn't just about taking down a few bad cops anymore. It was about destroying a system built on lies and violence. They couldn't hide from it. They couldn't run. Elena sat in the small, dimly lit living room, her fingers nervously tapping against the armrest of the chair. She had been waiting for Aaron to return. She knew he was out there, gathering more information, making more plans. But she couldn't shake the fear that came with every second he was gone. The door creaked open. Elena's heart skipped a beat. Aaron stepped in, his face as serious as ever. His clothes were torn, his body covered in bruises, but there was no fear in his eyes, just determination. "Aaron," Elena whispered, rushing to him. "What happened?" He shook his head, stepping into the room. "We're running out of time. They're coming for us." Elena's breath caught in her throat. What do you mean? Coming for us? Aaron sat down on the couch, looking down at his hands for a moment, his mind racing through all the things they had uncovered. Turner's not the only one pulling the strings. The people behind all of this, they've been waiting for the right moment, and that moment is now. He ran a hand through his hair, his eyes tired, but full of resolve. I can't keep you safe forever, Elena. The longer we stay here, the more danger we put ourselves in. Elena sat beside him, her heart pounding. You're talking about running again, aren't you? Just like before? Aaron looked at her. We can't keep hiding. We need to expose them. The truth has to come out. But to do that, we have to take the fight to them. The words hung in the air, heavy with meaning. Elena could feel the weight of Aaron's decision. He wasn't just talking about fighting back. He was talking about going on the offensive. This was no longer about survival. It was about justice. But Elena knew the cost. She knew this wouldn't be easy, and the consequences could be deadly. We can't do it alone, Aaron said quietly. I've made some calls. Jack and his team are ready to back us up. Elena nodded, but her mind was still racing. What's the plan? Aaron leaned forward, his voice dropping low. We're going after the money. The dirty money that fuels this whole operation. We follow the trail, expose it to the public, and take them down one by one. Elena's eyes widened. She hadn't realized just how much Aaron was risking. Taking down Turner and the officers was one thing, but going after the financial heart of the operation was a whole different level. It's dangerous, Elena whispered, her voice trembling. You don't have to do this. We could leave. We could go somewhere far away. Aaron's expression softened. I know you want to protect me, Elena, but we can't run anymore. If we leave, they win. If we hide, we're giving them what they want. And I won't let that happen. Elena knew it was pointless to argue. Aaron wasn't backing down. She had seen that look in his eyes before. The same look he had when they lost their parents. The same look when he promised to protect her, no matter what. And so the plan was set. It was risky. It was dangerous. But it was their only chance. They would infiltrate the network, expose the dirty money that connected the corrupt officers, businessmen, and officials. And then they would bring it all down. The next morning, Aaron and Elena gathered their things, ready for the next phase. Aaron's team had already begun their preparations. It was time to move fast. Elena stood in front of the mirror, adjusting her jacket. She barely recognized herself anymore. Gone was the quiet woman who had once feared the dangers of the world, the woman who had done her best to live a simple life. Now, she was a part of something bigger. She was fighting for something bigger, and she wasn't going to stop. The team met at a rundown hotel on the outskirts of town. Jack was already there, his face grim, his eyes alert. He was ready for the fight ahead. Aaron, Jack greeted him, his voice low. We're set. The intel is solid. We can hit them hard. Aaron nodded, but his mind was elsewhere. He wasn't just thinking about the mission. He was thinking about Elena, about the risks she was taking, and he knew she was scared, but she wouldn't say it. She never did. We go in together, Aaron said. No one gets left behind. The operation began at dawn. They moved quickly and quietly, infiltrating a warehouse on the outskirts of town, where the money was being funneled through. Elena's heart raced as they entered the building, the air thick with tension. She could feel it, the weight of everything that was riding on this moment. Aaron moved through the shadows, signaling to his team. Elena stayed close, her eyes darting around, her nerves on edge. She could hear the distant sounds of trucks and the low hum of voices coming from inside. It was now or never. The team split up, moving toward the money vault. They were so close now, so close to the truth. Elena's breath caught in her throat as they breached the final door, revealing stacks of cash, dirty money that had fueled the corruption. This was it. They were about to expose everything.